All right, we are trying this again. I are trying this again. We is something like that. This is WVU Football Going Deep. I'm Forrest Poston, whether you can hear me or not. Hopefully you can. This time around, this is take 2 on this video. And trying to see whether or not I am coming through. But if anybody is there, you can let me know. Now I forget what I was talking about. All right. Yeah. Oh, what a day, what a day. Was out running errands on the far side of town. Checked my phone and found out we had news that I needed to come home and talk about. But I had to run those errands. Yes, indeed I did. And the universe conspired to slow me down as much as possible. And then those of you who dropped in earlier know that was having some mic problems. Okay.
And the universe conspired to slow me down as much as possible.
We do have the mic working now. It may be too loud for you. If it is, let me know that too. Now, let's see. Where were we? All right. Back in April, the Mountaineers were hot after wide receiver Teriq Mallory, and then he committed to Wake Forest. But the chatter was that he would still flip in the future, and the chatter got it right. Sometimes gossip is more than gossip. Teriq Mallory has now officially committed to the Mountaineers. He decommitted from Wake Forest, came up for an official visit this weekend. The talk was that he was going to commit or had committed already. And now, like I say, it is official. So we now will be getting a 6'5" wide receiver who they say he has good hands and good footwork. I have not found out anything about his speed as yet. In at least one interview, he did say that he is going to have to work to develop in order to fulfill his potential and help the team. So he at least knows what to say. With a little luck, he knows that it is true and will put in that work. And we will have ourselves a very large target, hopefully a downfield and across the middle target, for the foreseeable future, starting in 2025. Of course, we do have a transfer around 6'4" coming in for this year, but I like the idea of having somebody in the fold long term and not looking for patches every year. This makes our second wide receiver who has committed. All right, thank you, Timothy. I appreciate letting me know. I'm having trouble remembering to look at the comments. I've kind of gotten scattered and in a hurry. I got cats who think they should be getting fed, and they're wrong. They should have been getting fed 15 minutes ago. However, none of them are in danger of starving anytime soon, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. Let them worry. We do kind of expect 1, 2, 3 more commits announced sometime this week. One player says he will announce his commitment June 10th. Somebody else says in July. We do have things in the works. Another couple of commits came out of camp and said they were canceling most of their other visits. Going to visit one more team and then announce. That puts West Virginia in a really good spot. And the thing to remember is these guys are the top targets. These are the players that Coach Brown wanted at these positions. It's like the 1A and 1B takes. They've got backup guys that they're still looking at, and if some of these guys aren't coming in, they've still got good players. But they're getting the guys they most want. Now, of course, that means the guys they most want, both in terms of athletic ability, athletic fit, and cultural fit. Guys who aren't going to gripe, guys who will gladly work hard. They may not like getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning, but they'll do it, and they'll be a little upbeat at least by the time they make it to the weight room. That makes a difference. I think it was Hubbard who was talking about when he first got here. Players would work out, but they didn't want to work out. They had to be convinced to work out. Chad Scott, I think on 3 Guys last week, said when they got here, they had to convince players to host recruits. Now the players come and ask to host recruits. All of that makes a difference. Culture makes a difference. And if your host is a guy who didn't want the job, as opposed to a guy who does want the job, that makes a big, big difference. It is why, or it's one reason why, we are getting some of these players. These are guys that we were just missing out on last year and not getting an official visit out of the year before, but now we're getting them here, we're getting them committed. And okay, winning 9 games last year helped. Coach Brown getting an extension helped. But having the culture, because the guys they're bringing in are guys for whom culture matters. So when they come in and like it, they like the coaches, they like the facilities, they like the feel, they like the family. Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to say family atmosphere, but if it's a dysfunctional family atmosphere, that's not so good. Now it is a positive atmosphere, and these guys are eating it up. Even players who haven't committed yet, they are talking about how great it is. And if you check some of these guys out on Twitter, the kind of things, yes, you expect them to say good things, or at least positive, semi-positive things. But what they're saying is just top-notch. It's over the top. So the impression, and from what because a lot of these players have been to campus, but not for an official visit. And from what they're saying, the difference from being there unofficially and officially is enormous. And it's just, really getting to these guys and making them want to play in and for West Virginia. And that is big time news. That's probably bigger news than any of the commitments themselves. We are making a majorly good impression on some majorly good players. 5-star players? No, we're not going after 5-star players, because those guys go to Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, and they get paid a ton to do so. We talk about being blue collar, and part of being blue collar is being willing to work hard for less. And with the right job, there are benefits to working hard for less, and I think this is one of them. These coaches are not going to take advantage of the players. All right. I don't think there's a weak recruiter on the staff. That's always been a factor in hiring. They're going after guys with positive energy. That makes a difference in the recruiting. And again, it's all starting to come together as a whole. You have you have this combination where it is a case that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So the recruiters are getting to these guys, getting them on campus, and then when they get to campus, that sense of the whole atmosphere hits them. And I think that's part of, they've already in the past 2 or 3 years had a very high hit rate if they get somebody they want in for an official visit. I think this year the hit rate is going to be even higher. We've got more official visits coming up this weekend. Some of the guys that they really, really want, some guys they just really want, and some that they will take if the number 1 picks don't commit quickly enough. And that's a good thing too. We've got guys that's like, okay, if you don't want to commit, that's fine. We've got somebody else that will be very happy to take if you can't make up your mind. And it's not like they're not. It's not extorting the players, but they are playing straight with them. Listen, we want you. If you're not sure, you can take your time, but we may take somebody else in the meantime. It's good to have the options, and that's the difference this year. Is West Virginia's got all of the options, and I think it's going to pay off in a major way. All right, I have a feeling there were some other things that I had intended to say, some that I may have said in the first video, which I will delete from YouTube since nobody can hear it, and I don't know if there's anybody out there who can read lips. Fortunately, I didn't start swearing when the mic went, or when the mic never started. Well, Timothy, I'm glad you came in. The other folks didn't hang around, didn't come back. So I don't know if you have any questions at this point. I do think most of the recruits we get committed here in the next week will be defensive. That's where we have needs. I wouldn't be surprised if they take one more running back. I think I mentioned in the Desenor video that I think they're going to recruit in pairs for running back so that they can always have a 1A, 1B combo instead of a number 1 or 2 on the depth chart, but both guys capable of starting and just going with the hot hand. One more receiver, and there are about 4 receivers I think they're looking hard at. They had 2 or 3 others on campus this week that they want, including another one who's about 6'4". So it would be really interesting to have 2 extra tall receivers at the same time. I don't know when West Virginia last had that. I don't think in the Neil Brown era, really. Well, I mean, we had Ford Wheaton, but he, well, I was disappointed. But there's a photo going around on Twitter X with all of the defensive backs who were on campus this weekend, and I think 5 or 6 in the photo, probably anywhere from 2, maybe 4 that will end up on the team next year. And again, there's 2 that they want most, and probably at least 4 that they want, and nobody in that photo would be disappointing to get. And I think we will hear from 1 or 2 of them probably within the next week. And yeah, we'll see how the upcoming official visits affect the desire or willingness of this week's people to commit. Okay. Yeah, and word is that that Mallory can win the 50-50 balls. He seems to have had a limited route tree so far in high school. Not sure why. I don't really know how complex route trees get in most high schools, even if they're good ones. But again, the coaches seem to think that he can do the job, and that includes Fabianich. He's not a coach, he's the general manager, but we got to remember we've got Fabianich, and he knows the guys who can play. He's got, the NFL perspective, so he sees things a little bit differently than the coaches do. And these guys that they're bringing in are ones that coaches and Fabianich have all agreed on. Well, I assume that's the case. So, but I think it was the last video, not this one. I did mention on Twitter, Mallory goes by Teriq Magic Mallory. He will have to prove that he deserves that nickname when he gets to WVU. If he manages or decides to hold on to it, the playlist could get interesting. I can think of a lot of songs from my era that would be appropriate, although not all of them appropriate with children in the audience. Okay, guys, I was only intending to be on here for a short while. It's been a complicated sort of day, and doing this video was no exception. But the important thing is we're being like the Canadian Mounties. We're getting our man. And Mallory was one of them. And I look forward to seeing him in the old gold and blue. I'll be talking to you sooner or later, hopefully sooner, with more news, more good news about the recruiting side of things. So long, guys.